All right, the Wikileaks leaked emails are out about the DNC. What do they show? What don't they show? First of all, let me be clear. The emails don't say, okay, let us conspire against Bernie Sanders. Let's get rid of him. Now, that might be because they don't have those emails. They only have a certain portion of the emails. Yes, it's nearly 20,000 emails, but we don't know what is in the emails they did not get. So, on the other hand, are there clear signs that they did not want Bernie Sanders to win? In these emails, yes. Now, another fair question is, was it during a relevant time in the primary? The answer to that is yes. So it was recent. It was in May. The primary was still going on. In fact, they talked about how they can get him to lose certain states. Oh, damn. Okay. So first off, there's simple things like important staffers at the DNC calling Bernie Sanders obnoxious. Okay, they don't like him. They don't like him. Okay, if you had it at that, okay, that particular guy doesn't like Bernie Sanders. Maybe there's someone who doesn't like Hillary Clinton, although that doesn't appear to be the case. Okay, we're starting out small. All right, the next thing is Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Now, some people are saying that she said his campaign was silly. That's actually not true. There was a story about how Bernie Sanders thought Debbie Wasserman Schultz should step down, and he would make that happen if he became president. She said that story is silly because he isn't going to be president. Now, wait a minute. If you're running the DNC and we're in the middle of the primaries, that is a very bad thing to say. Now, she didn't say that publicly. Publicly, she said, what, me? Oh, golly gee, I'm totally neutral. Now, look, we've told you about things in the past that we already knew. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, of course, worked for Hillary Clinton in her 2008 run. And everybody knows the timing of the debates, etc., is not debatable. Funny. That they put them at times where people were least likely to see them. So we understand all that. Okay, but for her to say he isn't going to be president when the voting was nowhere near over is really bad. Okay, we move on. The third part is even worse. So they were... let me be specific. It was actually Brad Marshall I'll get to in a second. Another staffer at the DNC suggested that they should use certain narratives against Bernie Sanders. But you can't do that. And then in those same emails, he talks about, they think that there's a conspiracy at the DNC. No, what we should tell people is it's not our fault that Bernie Sanders' campaign is a mess. Do you understand the irony of that? They're doing the conspiracy as they're claiming that they're not doing a conspiracy. There's not a conspiracy where like, okay, guys, you go make sure he loses in New York. I'll make sure he loses in Massachusetts. But there they are talking about narratives against Bernie Sanders in the middle of the primaries. Well, what is that? That seems to be conspiring against him, right? The final one is the Brad Marshall one I referred to. He's the chief financial officer. He thought that they should question Bernie Sanders' faith. They say, he says he's Jewish, but isn't he really atheist? Let's get somebody to ask that. By the way, understand how politics works. This is how they play the media, and media oftentimes goes along with it. They say, yeah, sure. That's an interesting question raised by an anonymous source who we won't tell you. It's actually the DNC saying, hey, question his faith. That is unbelievably obnoxious. But then it goes further, saying some Southern Baptists in Kentucky and West Virginia would not be happy with his faith if they thought he was an atheist. By the way, Bernie Sanders says he's Jewish. Here, they're trying to smear him as an atheist. Marshall then turns around later when caught, acknowledges that this happened, says, but I was probably doing it against a surrogate, I don't remember. First of all, it's not any better if you're doing it against a surrogate. You shouldn't question anybody's faith. Second of all, I thought you guys were neutral. Third of all, which surrogate? There's no other surrogate who is Jewish but that you thought was atheist. No, of course you're talking about Bernie Sanders. But even more important than the obnoxious level of that, they are trying to figure out ways to get him to lose in Kentucky and West Virginia. They're not on the Hillary Clinton campaign. They're on the theoretically neutral DNC. And these are the top level people at the DNC. Yes, they did not want Bernie Sanders to win. Yes, they did specifically conspire to have narratives against him in specific primary states. Now the jury is in. It was no question about it. All that time that they said, we're neutral, and the press went along with it. Total and utter nonsense. What we were saying all along, now proven to be true. And that's the reality.